Asrea Natania, with last 3 digits of my NPM number is 029.
And I, Relividia Audrey, with the last 3 digits of MPM is 032.
Hello, my name is Rafanita Laida and my last 3 digits of NPM is 065.
I'm Sylvia Agustina and my last 3 digit NPM is 172.
Hello, my name is Khairul Anam and my last 3 digits of NPM is 173.
My name is Muhammad Iqbal with last digit of NPM 132.
Today, for this law business presentation, we would like to explain to you guys about definition and legal sources of capital market, structure and institution of Indonesian capital market, public offering, corporate action, capital market crimes, and the last one is going to be the study cases.
Definition of capital market. Capital market is the portion of the financial market which deals with longer-term loanable funds. In Pasal 1 ayat 13 Undang-Undang Nomor 8 Tahun 1995, capital market is an activity related to public offerings, trading of securities, public companies, and institutions and professional related to securities. Legal source of capital market. The first one is Undang-Undang Nomor 8 Tahun 1995. Capital market is a general provision regarding capital market law. Number 2, Peraturan Pemerintah Nomor 45 Tahun 1995 about the implementation of activities in the capital market. Number 3, Peraturan Pemerintah Nomor 12 Tahun 2004 about the implementation of activities in the capital market. Number 4, Peraturan Pemerintah Nomor 46 Tahun 1995. Number 5, Peraturan Pemerintah Nomor 4 Tahun 1995. Number 6, Keuangan Nomor 1548 KMK 013/1990. Number 7, Keputusan Menteri Keuangan Nomor 646 KMK 010/1995. Number 8, Keputusan Menteri Keuangan Nomor 455 KMK 010/1997 tanggal 4 September 1997. Number 9, Keputusan Menteri Keuangan Nomor 455 KMK 010/1997 tanggal 4 September 1997. And the last one is seperangkat peraturan pelaksanaan yang dikeluarkan oleh Ketua Bapepam sejak tanggal 17 Januari 1996.
Structure and institution in Indonesian capital market. As you can see, this is the structure of Indonesian capital market. And then there is 5 institutions involved in capital market. The first one is Otoritas Jasa Keuangan or OJK. OJK is a government institution or institution tasked with supervising various transactions or activities that occur in capital market. Not only transaction in capital market, OJK as a whole supervises various financial transactions that occur in Indonesia. In capital market, OJK has several functions ranging from drafting various regulations related to capital market to fostering the supervising various activities in capital market. The next one is Custodian Central Efek Indonesia or KSEI. The institution involved in capital market is KSEI, which is one of the parties that must be familiar to investor, including novice investor. When you buy a capital market instrument, you will get a notification in the form of transaction progress via active email from KSEI. KSEI, which stands for Custodian Central Efek Indonesia, is an institution whose role is to store, distribute, and settle various transactions that occur on Indonesian Stock Exchange. KSEI function in the capital market was previously regulated in Law Number 8 of 1995. And the next one is Clearing Penjamin Efek Indonesia or KPEI. In additional of KSEI, KPEI is one of the most important institutions in the world of capital market. KPEI is an institution that acts as the clearing and guarantee institution for the Indonesian capital market. In capital market, KPEI has a role to conduct clearing of transactions both inside the stock exchange and outside the Indonesian Stock Exchange. With permission from OJK, KPEI can also carry out various other financial service supporting activities in accordance with the applicable law. The next one is wali amanat or trustees. When you want to enter the world of capital market, you must also know the term of trustees. What is trustees? Trustees are institutions and parties in the capital market that act as representative to issuer to take care of various matters related to debt, such as bond. Trustees are usually played by an institution in the form of commercial bank or other institution determined by the OJK and the government. In the operational process, the trustee will be the liaison between issuer and investor and inform various latest information about the development and condition of the issuer they hold. And the next one is underwriter or penjamin emisi efek. Underwriter are institutions that are bound by direct contact with certain issuer. Simply put, underwriters have the main task to record, conduct public offering to guarantee all securities transaction of the issuer concerned in accordance with existing procedure. Underwriter also have a role to ensure that the value of sale and payment for related securities are appropriate and issued to the issuer. That's the last one. Those are the 5 parties in the capital market that you must recognize early if you want to jump into the world of capital market. The capital market has a wide scope with many types of investment instruments that you can buy. Public offering. In the sale of equity share or other financial instrument such as bond to the public in order to raise capital, the capital raise may be intended to cover operational shortfall, fund business expansion, or make strategic investment. The next issue is initial public offering or IPO. The initial public offering or IPO is the share of company that are first released to be sold to the public, so that the shares are no longer controlled privately. Companies that conduct IPOs are usually referred as the companies that go public. Companies that have gone public will be listed in the Indonesian Stock Exchange or IDX and referred to an issuer. Companies going public are also required to report the company financial condition and performance to the public, which can be seen on Indonesian Stock Exchange website. Secondary offering. The first one is non-dilutive offering. Non-dilutive usually refer to the type of financing for a business where they do not lose any equity in the company. Non-dilutive financing means that they receive money for the business without giving away any ownership of the company itself. And the second one is dilutive offering. Dilutive secondary offering is also known as a subsequent offering or follow-on public offering. This offering occur when a company itself create and place new shares onto the market, thus diluting existing shares.
Capital action. A capital action is generally defined as any type of event or decision that leads to a significant material change in the company. The implementation of a corporate action normally has an impact on shareholders and others who have a substantial stake in the success of the corporation. In the best scenarios associated with this action, all parties involved benefit from the implementation of the action. The general objective of corporate action is to be able to increase public company capital, increase stock trading liquidity, and other economic goals. Including the specific objective of other corporate action are distribution of income, buying or paying off debt, increasing company capital, restructuring capital, controlling and supervising companies, increasing liquidity, restructuring debt obligation by issuing the new shares or right issues, and others.
Next is capital crime, also known as financial crime or white-collar crime, refer to a wide range of illegal activities that are typically committed in the context of financial markets such as stock market, commodity market, and foreign exchange markets. These crimes can be committed by individuals or organizations, and they can have a significant impact on the financial system and the broader economy. Capital crime happen for a variety of reasons, but they generally stem from a desire to make money through illegal means or to maintain an unfair advantage over other market participants. There are some of the reasons why capital crime occur. First is greed. One of the main motivations behind capital crimes is the desire for personal gain. Individuals or organizations may engage in illegal activities such as insider trading or security fraud in order to make a quick profit or to boost their own financial position. Second is lack of regulation. In some cases, capital crime may occur due to a lack of regulation or enforcement in the financial markets. This can create opportunity for individuals or organizations to engage in illegal activities without fear of being punished. Third is weak internal controls. Another reason why capital crime occurs is due to weak internal controls within companies or organizations. This can make it easier for employees or executives to engage in illegal activities such as embezzlement or securities fraud. Fourth is pressure to meet targets. In some cases, individuals or organizations may engage in illegal activities in order to meet financial targets or expectations. This can lead to unethical behavior and a willingness to engage in illegal activities in order to achieve success. Fifth is information asymmetry. Capital crimes such as insider trading often occur due to information asymmetry, where certain individuals or organizations have access to confidential or non-public information that gives them an unfair advantage over other market participants. It's important to note that capital markets are illegal and can have serious consequences. They can lead to significant financial loss for investors, damage to reputation of companies and organizations, and undermine confidence in the financial markets.
Okay, so the case that our group chose from Indonesia is about CEO PT Joska Financial Indonesia do the money laundry. The chronology of this case is Joska was better known as a financial influencer who had nearly 1 million followers on Instagram. Along with the large number of followers on social media, Joska introduced itself as a financial consulting firm that operates independently. After operating in social media bubble for so long, it turns out that Joska, who collects customer funds for investment purpose, is known to not have the required permits if he wants to manage his customers' investment. Joska clients complain that Joska has access to managing their stock investment portfolio. The investment funds were also purchased with the same shares, namely for PT Sentral Mitra Informatika Tbk or LAK. Joska clients admit that he had asked to sell the shares, and however, the request was not carried out, and in the end, many of them suffered losses. Based on the December 21, 2020 report, the value of investment losses for 41 Joska customers who were escorted by attorneys was recorded at 16 billion rupiah. The cause of the loss was because Joska placed customer fund investment in stock instruments and experienced a significant decline in value. Next is the first step of this case. The first step of this case is Joska customers report about the investment business conduct by PT Joska to Polda Metro Jaya on September 3rd, 2020. Akar and Tias, who were found guilty of violating Pasal 103 Jungto Pasal 30 Ayat 1 UU Undang-Undang Republik Indonesia Nomor 8 Tahun 1995 tentang pasar modal, Jungto Pasal 55 Ayat 1 ke 1 KUHP dan Pasal 3 Jungto Pasal 10 Undang-Undang Republik Indonesia Nomor 8 Tahun 2010 tentang pencegahan dan pemberantasan tindak pidana pencucian uang. From data that taken from the Central Jakarta District Court, as we can see in the slides, the number of trials in the court for this case is 17 trials in the court. Next, from the slide, we can see that the length of this case is a year with a total cost is 262 million and 330,000 rupiah. Average cost per day is 718,700 rupiah. So based on what Akar had done, the judges decided to sentence him based on Pasal 103 Undang-Undang Pasar Modal for being in prison for 5 years and had to pay 5 billion rupiah, or Pasal 104 Jungto Pasal 90 Undang-Undang Nomor 8 Tahun 1995 about pasar modal for being in prison 10 years maximum and had to pay 15 billion rupiah. This also applied to Tias Nugroho as the person that worked together with Akar.
And the last study case is from America. It's about scamming and phishing. That was happened to Google and Facebook and resulting a loss over $100 million by a guy who sent fake emails to them. The chronology is a Lithuanian guy named Evaldas Rimasauskar, 50 years old, sent a fake email under company name Quanta to Google and Facebook in 2013. A little of brief, Quanta is a tech company from Taiwan that was founded in 1988 and right now is a major supplier to any US tech companies such as Google and Facebook. Rimasauskar sent fake emails and invoices to Facebook and Google and directed unsuspecting employees to wire the payment to the fraudulent bank accounts of Rimasauskar, and then after that, Rimasauskar divided the money into several bank accounts. After 2 years, Google and Facebook decided to report Rimasauskar to Southern District of New York in 2016. And based off that, he got sentences of Title 18 US Code Section 981 AC1, Title 18 US Code Section 982 A1, and the last one is Title 28 US Code Section 2461. And based on what he had done in 2013 until 2015, Lithuanian authorities decided to arrest him in March 2017 and extradite him to the US after a month later. As a part of his guilty plea, Rimasauskar agreed to forfeit roughly $49.7 million that he obtained from the scheme. And in July 24, he was sentenced up to 30 years to be imprisoned by American authorities.